back to the Protea Academy YouTube channel. I'm Michelle, and in today's video we're going to be discussing best practices to avoiding wire fraud in your small business. Now, while it is the large businesses who end up making the news when it comes to financial fraud, the greatest amount of fraud happens to small business owners. Recent research indicates that 78% of small businesses suffer some kind of wire fraud each year. And in fact, all businesses lose at least 5% of their earnings due to fraud every year. Now, since it's become more difficult for criminals to break into large corporations, being due to their internet security, their firewalls and authentication processes, thieves are targeting small businesses frequently because their security is commonly not as strong as that of a large company. The average fraud loss for a small business is roughly around $250,000. Now, this can put many small businesses into real financial trouble. So as a small business owner, you need to be asking how you can protect your company against wire fraud and how you can ensure that your business is safe from fraud. In this video, we're going to be looking at some suggestions to help you keep your business safe. Often wire fraud starts in a small business when an employee opens an email with a link that opens the business up for wire fraud. Now, many small business owners believe all their employees are smart enough not to just click on any link in an email, but this may not always be the case. And surveys of small business employees indicate that over half of them have admitted to clicking on a link in an email. Now, that type of attempt to gain access to your business information is called phishing, and it occurs when criminals send links to hack into your business. Now, most phishing scams target the financial information of the business or the financial information for the business, and phishing scams are the most common when it comes to business fraud. So how should a small business educate their employees when it comes to fraud? You need to train your employees about email fraud and phishing scams. Employee training for fraud is fairly simple, but if you don't want to undertake the task yourself, there's plenty of ready-made presentations and videos that can help. You also need to provide training to your employees regarding all types of fraud. Now, some of the most common types of fraud include things such as relative scam, utility companies, debt collection, charities, employment offers, and even online dating fraud. But by educating your employees to be on the lookout for fraud, this will go a long way in ensuring that you're keeping your business safe. Another type of prevalent wire fraud is vendor fraud. Now, this is newer than phishing fraud, and it occurs when a criminal uses your business accounts to set up a fake vendor account with regular payments. Now, it may start as small transactions that are barely noticeable, but over time, the transactions can increase in value and can steal tens of thousands of dollars from your business before anyone can catch them. Now, as a small business owner or manager, there are steps that you can take to ensure that you're only paying legitimate vendors. You can begin this process by putting procedures in place when it comes to adding new vendors to your business. So if your bookkeeping and finance staff follow the correct vetting procedure, your business will be less likely to experience fraud. So your bookkeeper can check your current accounts payable vendors to ensure that they are safe to pay invoices. Another excellent idea for small business owners is to have your prospective vendors fill out a W-9 so that you can ensure they're not part of a scam. Now, a W-9 is an official request for a business's tax identification number. Now, all small businesses, including sole proprietorships, will have either a social security number or a tax ID number. And if you have a vendor who refuses to provide either their social security number or tax ID number, then you do not want to be buying from them. Some small businesses wire money regularly to vendors that they do a large volume of business with because it is safer than sending a check in the mail. But financial institutions have seen an increase in the number of wire fraud attempts by cyber criminals. Now, you can keep your wires safe by thoroughly checking your wiring information before the wire leaves your account. You can also minimize this danger by practicing callbacks on your wire transfers, just to double check that the money has gone to the right spot. because cyber criminals will usually only target a business for a short amount of time and will move on fairly quickly once they see their attempts are not successful, you may be able to eliminate this threat through vigilant checking of your wire transfers. Another step you can take to prevent fraud is to ask your payees to undergo an out-of-band authorization for large wires to prevent fraud. Now, an out-of-band authorization puts two checks in place for businesses to verify the legitimacy of your vendors before you pay them. And if you use international wire transfers, you need to be extra careful because many international transfers are wire fraud attempts to get into your system. So you'll need to make sure that you put extra protection in place to ensure that all of your wire transfers are safe. No business owner wants to process returns because returns take money out of your pocket. However, they are often a part of doing business. You want to ensure that your client or your customer's refund requests are legitimate. And if you don't already have a refund or return policy in place, you need to get one in there as soon as possible. You need to have your refund policy spelled out, and this can appear either on your website or on contracts and on invoices. If you sell items to customers, you also want to ensure that they are providing a receipt in order to process the returns. And you need to limit the amount of time that they have to request the refund or the return. You need to limit this amount of time, and you should be looking at accepting returns capped at 30 days. So up to 30 days, they can put in their request. By having a strict return policy in place, you will be able to limit the chances of fraud happening in this area. You may have considered putting safety procedures in place to combat fraud, but have you thought about using technology as protection? So if you upgrade your wireless technology, you may want to consider getting a virtual private network for your business. Now, virtual private networks create an island of safety for your business, and this is even over a public internet connection. Some business owners may be reluctant to spend money on technology, but by investing a little bit in technology now, you could be saving thousands of dollars in fraud costs. If you're not sure about upgrading your internet to use a virtual private network because of the costs associated with it, there are other safety features that you can buy that are less expensive. So for example, you can change your wireless access to private rather than public, so that your customers and employees can only access it with a password. You can also create cloud backups for all your technology, which means it will be available anywhere, whether your computers are down or not. And if you have more than one location for your business, you may want to create a firewall to keep your business information as safe as possible. You can also set up a two-factor authentication for your company before payments are processed, and this ensures that the person who's requesting the money must have multiple forms of proof that they are who they claim to be. This means that if hackers have some of your business information, they cannot use it to open accounts and use your good credit without verifying who they are in relation to the business. If you don't have your business practices written down, there is no time like the present to create safety procedures for your financial transactions. So this would be making sure that all of your vendors understand how money is exchanged between businesses by sending them a copy of your business policies. And while they may complain a little, many businesses are used to dealing with client contracts and procedures. Another thing to consider is if you buy a lot of materials or supplies from vendors, in which case you will need a vendor contract. If you don't have a vendor contract, it is time to make one. And a vendor contract will spell out the payment terms, the methods of payments, a return or refund policy, and how to handle disputes over payments or merchandise. You can find good examples of vendor contracts on the internet, or you can hire a lawyer to draw up a vendor contract for your business. As a business owner, you've got more than enough to worry about. You are constantly looking at ways to keeping your employees happy, as well as rewarding your hardest working employees, and you want to keep your business fresh by coming up with new ideas and products. And on top of all of that, you want to effectively market your business in order to attract customers. The last thing you want to be thinking about is how to keep your business safe from fraud. But if you take the steps to keep your business safe, you are going a long way in ensuring the longevity of your business. So to recap, some of the things you need to be looking at to prevent fraud is educating your employees, making sure that they can identify or that they are looking out for spam emails, spoof emails, that they're aware of the different types of fraud. You also want to be thoroughly vetting your vendors, so making sure that you are only paying legitimate vendors. You can also use technology such as virtual private networks, two-factor authentication, and private passwords to keep your information safe. And finally, you want to have all of your vendor contracts in writing so that there's no chance of fraud. Now, by following these steps, you can work to keep your business safe from fraud. As always, we trust you found this video insightful, and should you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions for future content that you'd like to see, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Please also reach out to us on our social media platforms such as LinkedIn or Facebook, or at our website at proteafinancial.com. Protea Academy, striving to achieve better accounting for everyone.